Hello and welcome to Cosmos with Bailey. I'm Bailey and I'm a psychic medium and spiritual healer based in New Zealand. Welcome. So today's video is going to be on the psychic reasoning of pulling others down and energetic lack mentality. So I had a very interesting experience over the last few years, and actually for quite a while. And I was only just recently did I fully grasp the psychic reasoning as to why this happens and how it's working energetically and psychically. And so there's a lot of talk out there on lack mentality and how you can sort of create your reality based on the idea that you don't have enough. And also that is sort of the old world planetary survivalist consciousness with the ego, is that we believe that we don't have enough, we need to take from others, or we need to pull other people down. So in New Zealand and in Australia, I'm just going to talk about some of my personal experiences. So I have grown up in New Zealand, and in New Zealand there is a very, very big, what I would call archaic culture of pulling each other down, and there's not a lot of open-mindedness here in New Zealand, and we're very, very caught in the past. And there's a lot of what you would call tall poppy syndrome, and it's very, very predominant. But I think it is, I can only speak from my experience living in New Zealand. But when I moved to Melbourne in my 20s, and I lived there for a few years, I really, really thrived creatively, and I found so many different types of people, and I was just out and about a lot. I met a lot of other creative individuals. And then when I moved back to New Zealand, I found that there wasn't, I don't know if it just because it was Melbourne, and Melbourne is very open creatively. And I think, Melbourne is obviously a much bigger city than say Wellington here in New Zealand. But when I moved back, I really found almost the stifling culture, I would say collective consciousness of New Zealand to be very closed-minded. And it may have been just the type of people I was around. But I definitely noticed a very big difference, say from Melbourne to New Zealand, and how the lack mentality was really prevalent. And I think, I can only speak from my experience. I don't know what it's like in other areas of the world, but you find pockets. So yes, okay, so I'm going to talk about energetic lack mentality and the psychic reasoning of pulling others down. So how does this work? First and foremost, it's a type of consciousness. And it's also a type of belief system, and others are more ingrained in it than others, or others realize, actually, no, I don't have to live like this. I can choose how I want to live, and I'm going to focus on myself. And what happens is that, and it's very ingrained, this lack mentality belief system. And I think it was all dependent on your family and how you grew up and what, there's so many nuances. But essentially what happens is there's a lack of spirit and a lack of life force in that person. Because when you are really, and grouping as well, when you're really embodied with your spirit and your own spirit empowerment, you're not looking to pull others down. You're looking to focus on yourself and your own life path. And you're more inclined to help others, support others, instead of, and it's actually a form of energetic in the aura and the energy body. And when you hold a lot more light than others around you, or just a lot more soul empowerment, I think is a better term, psychically there's an energetic dissonance and psychic dissonance between you and this person. And what happens is that yes, it's about collective group consciousness, but to pull others down is an energetic way of making that person feel more empowered in their life circumstances. And it'll be done energetically via maybe saying things: you should not do this, you should not do that, you should do this. And just sort of trying to persuade you energetically to come down to where they're experiencing themselves. It's very common. and yeah, it's sort of like pulling other people away or distracting you from your goals, your ambitions, where you want to guide your life force, what current you're taking, and trying to, I've seen this happen, the person will try and create chaos and disarray on purpose, so they, in your life path, so they feel better about their life circumstances. And what happens, because there's a lack of awareness of self and a lack of their own psychic energies and spirit empowerment, is that instead of really focusing on themselves and changing their lives, it is so much easier when you have a lack of light, or lack of I would say lack of awareness. But I don't think it's a lack of awareness, it's more so that's just where someone's experiencing themselves. And it's so much easier when you're in that psychic lack mentality, to just go and interfere in someone else's soul pathway, or to go and sort of create chaos and disarray for someone else on purpose, so you feel better about your circumstances. But it's like, it's a real lack mentality, because ideally what that person should be doing is using that life force and their energy to change their own circumstances and empower themselves. But for some reason there's a disconnect, and they will use their life force and energy to sort of manipulate other people's energy, or interfere in other people's life force, and try and bring them down energetically to where they're experiencing themselves. Is really, really common. So yeah, interfering on other people's life paths and creating a state of disarray on purpose. So there's little awareness as to where that person is guiding their life force. Instead, they'll focus on someone else in the physical realm, and just try and manipulate that person's light or life force to do what they want, so they feel better. Yeah, trying to control and manipulate another's clear, concise actions. And what happens is they'll be in that hierarchical consciousness where they want to place themselves energetically above that person. So what they'll do is they'll try and bring that person's energy down, and then they feel slightly better. But it's very egoic. It lasts for all of 5 minutes before that person starts to feel lack or insecurity again. It's not really it's not really it's those things that are done in the moment, and it's not really thought about, and it's not just, I'm going to do this. There's no thought processes of how the person is using their energy and why. Yeah, trying to put yourself above someone else energetically, interference on jobs, trying to sway you into different situations when you know you want to go this way. What else? Yeah, wants to create lack in your life, and they'll try and convince you with beliefs and sayings. It's like they're having a parrot in your ear almost. You need to do this, this, and this, that, and that. And they'll almost energetically bombard you with their own lack, and then it sort of brings you down a little bit, and then they feel better. And so it's the hierarchical, but it's just ego, and it's not very, it's very surface gain, and it's not long term feeling good. It's very, I'll feel good when this person is not being good, like it's not doing well. So I'm just going to go and say something to them, and then, yeah. Yeah, they gain energy from getting you to do what they want, or sort of just trying to disempower you. And yeah, energetic hierarchy, us versus them, and a disconnect from spirit and the cosmos and true self-empowerment. So what I said, you are going to have someone who's a little bit more empowered in their light, in their life force, in their life choices. They've probably done a lot of self-inquiry and wanting to change their life. Maybe they've been through a lot of challenge and sort of thrived and moved into empowerment through that challenge, where other people can just sort of decide to stay in a certain level of life experience and not move out of disempowerment. And there's a really big illusion with this, in that people believe it's easier to stay disempowered, and it's really not. It's very it's an unenjoyable way to live your life on the earth, but a lot of times people don't know, or they don't want to, and so it's easier to sort of try and bring down that person who's more who's like maybe shining their light a little bit more, who is a little bit more empowered. And usually when you're holding a little bit more light and self-empowerment, you're not wanting to pull others down. And what can happen with these types of things is that you can get pulled into conflicts. You can get pulled into life situations that you never needed to be a part of. I think I was talking to a friend about this, and I said to him, it's things like people saying to you, like, say you start working out, all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to get my life back on track, and I'm going to change how I'm experiencing my life, and I'm sick of my own crap. I'm going to change this. And so let's say you start working out, and you have someone, maybe it's a flatmate or a family member or a friend, and they say things like, do you want to come do this with me? And it's like right at the time when you're going to work out. Or, they'll say things like, how about we do this instead? And it is almost like an interference on you trying to upgrade yourself into more light and empowerment. And it's a subconscious thing. Sometimes people do it on purpose. Other times it's very subconscious. And this is where really good boundaries and discernment come in, and that you can just sort of leave that person to their own journey. They'll most likely go and find someone else, or they need to go, or you need to go and find other people that are more in resonance with where you're at. And sometimes we are in these situations that we can't get out of. There's people in our work environments, there's family members, there's there's also a good flatmate. You have a flatmate you don't get along with, and you can't move out of those situations right now. And the biggest thing you can do is not play into the lack mentality. And what happens if you sort of engage with a lot of these people, you find yourself all of a sudden feeling insecure, but that person is going really well. There's been some type of energy transference, or they've said some things to you that have sort of dampened you. And for maybe all of 5 to 10 minutes, they feel a little better. And it is and it's sort of like trying to dim the light, but it doesn't really work. It's not just that very, very quick surface feeling. So you've got lack of light, and then light, and that's how the sort of the tall poppy syndrome happens. That's how the pulling someone else down is also a type of belief system and consciousnness, that this person believes they can't cultivate light and abundance for themselves. And they also believe that they have to sort of, it's a very disempowering. It's a disempowering way to be on the earth. And it's very old world survivalist consciousness. But once you understand the dynamics, lack of light, lack mentality, light, empowerment, you can empower yourself through these situations and not be at the mercy of people in a different state of awareness to you. You can understand where they're coming from, but you can also decide, actually, I'm going to focus on cultivating my own light and life force. You need to go elsewhere, and you need to figure yourself out. And that's true empowerment on the spirit pathway. You want to focus on empowering yourself and enjoying yourself in your incarnation, and allowing others the same, that they need to also find that within themselves. You can't, it's about, So yeah, lack mentality, lack of light. I need to pull others down because I don't have enough. Versus empowerment with spirit, light, lack, creativity. And also just sort of deciphering, you know, the energetics and what you're around, because people like this can really interfere on your pathway without you realizing. You could take on insecurities and lack belief systems and believing that, and they'll just say these things to you, and you'll sort of just, yeah, I'm going to go and do it. And it is, you've got to be very clear and concise with psychic energies and energies in general, and is like, actually, is this, no, I'm going to the gym. No, I'm going to do XYZ now. No, I'm going to work on my business. No, thank you, I'm going to do this. And so that's you empowering yourself. Yes, lack of light. That is how the psychic dissonance happens, and how other people try and pull others down all the time. And it's, yeah. So once you understand it from a higher perspective, you can navigate these situations easier and with a sense of empowerment, and you don't need to be pulled in to someone else's lack mentality or how they are experiencing life. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that was helpful.